Hello, my name is Gareth. You're watching the Hub Online Network. We have Deb Arnott in the studio today. We're talking about the Mcabee fossils, but let's not hold you in prehistoric suspense anymore. Let's get to it. So, Deb, it's been a hot minute since you've been here last time. How you doing?
You know what? I'm doing great. I'm healthy. Everybody's safe. So it's a good day.
So, we're here to talk about Mcabee fossils.
hmm
So, let's just start with what is the Mcabee fossils?
Well, the site became a part of the province back in 2012. I don't know. I don't know if you've been around here long, Gareth, to know when it was open to the public. Way back when.
I've been here for 9-ish years.
Okay, okay. So prior to it being established in 2012, it was owned by an individual, and so we had people that, including the schools, they'd go to the site, they were able to dig the fossils, and they were able to take it home. And fortunately, there's a paleontologist that had gone on the site and contacted the provincial government and said, we've got one heck of a site out there, and we've done a lot of research on it, and we're looking at 53 million years that these fossils have been sitting there. And he said, I think that the province needs to have a look at this and start regulating it. So thank goodness for him that Dr. Bruce Archibald that got involved in that. So he worked with the provincial government, and so it got shifted, got shut down for a while, and we just opened up last year for our opening. We were supposed to be open up this year, but with the COVID, like everybody else, we're not open this year, but incredible site.
I was at the opening festivities.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I was disappointed with was that we didn't get to go up into the hills and take a look. That was my only thing. But it was a great opening ceremony, great lunch that we had that day. Um, so now a year's passed, and there was plans for a building, a research center, all sorts of stuff. Has there been any progress on the brick and mortar part of the Mcabee fossils?
Well, we completed in January of 2017, and it's in our business plan and our feasibility for the different phases. And we were moving along great, working on it, looking for the funding. As you know, for anything like this, you need to tap on a lot of doors, a lot of foundations. It takes time. It takes years. Like, I've been involved since May of 2016, and I cannot believe it's been over 4 years. And we haven't stopped. Like, we continue working behind the scenes. So, that comment about, it'd be nice to climb up the hill, we can't be doing that because we need to ensure that we have interpretation trails. Hence the new project this year. We've seen an opportunity, so I started working with the Heritage Branch, I guess probably February or March. We started having discussions around it. We finally got the contract at the end of August and got approval, so that should indicate to people how long this process can take because it is designated a heritage site. And so we worked with them. We've looked at having trails so that people can go up there and go for a walk, but we need to manage the site. We can't have people going helter-skelter, going in all directions. We need to ensure that they're not disturbing any of the fossils because, interestingly enough, we've got the trail workers up there working with Sutra, who's overseeing that, who's an incredible trail builder. And as they were working on the natural trails, they did come across an area of fossils, so they had to leave that site to bring in the experts, and they had to move down the area and start over again and continue digging. So that kind of tells you how many fossils are up there on the site.
Now, these fossils are not dinosaurs. These are plant fossils, rock fossils. Um, what else?
There'd be birds, all of those kind of things. Anything that, when I look back, because I'm learning this also, this is all new to me because I'm not a paleontologist, so I learn all the time from these experts because I'm asking questions because that's, of course, not my background. But when you're at the site, you can see how high the water was. And so most of the different kinds of vegetation and fish, those kind of things, that's what was left there.
That's cool.
It really is cool. Yeah, we're very fortunate to have it in our backyard. Like, it's amazing.
And it's really, you wouldn't, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it to drive past it. It just
Exactly.
looks like it's just part of the drive to Kamloops, really. So when it got shut down, who took it over? Meaning, like which groups started managing the site, and like who owns it now?
Well, the province still owns it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still the province. And my understanding, because prior to 2016, there was some opportunities with the province working with Thompson Rivers University, and they were trying to figure out, okay, so how are we going to move it forward and manage it and ensure that it's protected? So in 2016, I received a call from an individual saying, it'd be nice to get a working group. And I chatted with her for a while, and she said, we've tried this, Deb, but we're not getting any interest, and we've had these individuals come around the table. And I said, oh, I'm pretty involved in the region. I didn't know about this group that you're talking about. I said, so who locally is around the table? And she said, well, I'm not sure if there's anybody locally. And I said, and that's why it didn't move forward. I said, you cannot be coming into communities and think you're going to move projects forward, especially something as important as this, and not have any local input. I said, it's so important. So we talked about some individuals that could join the table. So we wanted, with me, it was very important, of course, to have the Indigenous community at the table. To me, that's just a given. But we got a group of individuals sat around the table, and we had about a couple of meetings. And I think it was the second meeting, I said, we need to have a strategy, and we need to maybe have a facilitated session. I said, because first of all, as a group, we need to know what our priorities and our values are, and what direction we want to see this project as we move forward. So the group agreed, said, yeah, because for some of them, I hadn't even met some of these individuals. So I facilitated a session the following meeting because I needed to know, okay, are we all on the same page here? Of course, we're going to have different opinions, those kind of things, which is very valuable. But I want to make sure we were all on the same page. When we were done that session, after 2 hours, we went, wow, we've got an incredible group here because we all have the same values, and we want to protect, but we also recognize that we can utilize this asset for economic development in the region. So with my background, of course, I said, well, the next step is then we need to get a business plan done. We need a feasibility. It's pretty tough to go out there and be sharing this project when you don't have documentation and information to share with the community in the region as to why it is so important for the locals to be involved in the site. So as Community Futures, we applied and we got some money from the Rural Dividend Fund, so got that funding. And I really am a believer that things happen for a reason, so I started reaching out there to see if we could find that person that we could contract to that would understand one of these sites. So I got a hold of one of my peers, and we chatted about this, and she said, you know what, Deb, I've got this individual I think you should talk to. So I gave Angela a call, and I said, yeah, we're doing this project. Well, wouldn't you know it, her husband is a paleontologist. They travel around the world to go to different heritage sites with fossils. What are the chances? And I said, you know what, I've got a contract for you. So she came on board. So you can imagine to have that kind of experience and understanding. If we came to a part that we weren't sure where to go, she could refer it to her husband, say, what do you think would work for this if we were looking at the fossils and wanting to move this business case forward? So we got some incredible intel. And I'm a really strong believer too. You need to do your work up front. Make sure you have a strong business plan and a feasibility study. I think that's paramount for any kind of project or business that you're starting. Because to me, this is a business. This is moving forward as a business. So we, as Community Futures, actually put in some extra dollars because I wanted her to interview individuals in the region. I wanted to kind of hear their opinions and what they thought of the area. And it came back very strongly, yeah, we support this, but we want to ensure that it's still protected. So we completed that to discover that and when I was working with her, I said, let's keep our numbers low because I don't want anybody to think, oh yeah, where did they get these numbers? They just blew it out of the water. But we kept our numbers low, and we're looking at a minimum of 50,000 visitors into our region once we were up and running to come and visit the site. And I've even talked to those that are in the business. I said, yeah, we've got this case study, and we're looking at 50,000. They laugh, and they say, oh, you're going to see more than that. You're going to see way more than that. You need to get your region ready. You need to get your businesses ready. And one of the things that I am very passionate about is I don't want to see restaurants up there and all these kind of different things. The idea is to bring people in the area so they will support local businesses. That's the reason why I am so involved in this, because with my background, I'm looking at business development and for the region. Yes, my hope is there's going to be some Indigenous businesses up there and interpreters. I think that's to me is also one thing that's just a given also. We need to ensure that the Indigenous community is able to share their stories and their culture. It's a win-win for everybody.
So let's say that COVID didn't happen. You guys had a plan to open this year. What would this year have looked like?
Well, we started talking about that in January. Actually, prior to that, I was kind of looking at, okay, so where can we get the funding to hire the interpreters again? So those kind of things needed to be put in place. So I was already knocking on doors, working at getting some funding together so we could hire individuals to be out there. Because people need to understand, those can be some tough days. It's hot up there. Like I've been up there a couple of times, even with the trail workers, when it was like, 30, 38 degrees out there. I really felt bad for them. Like they're starting at 7 in the morning, and we had a couple of them unfortunately get ill because it was so hot out there. But it's a tough job sitting out there all day in the heat and meeting with individuals, and you need to always be upbeat. So for this year, I was planning on hiring more so that I could rotate more. So it wasn't, we weren't counting on 2 individuals putting in long days for 5 to 7 days a week. That is tough. I was looking at, okay, let's maybe transition more, because also we need to ensure that people get that rest so that they're a lot more energetic and positive when people come to the site.
Right. So would you have done, guided tours, or would this be people could just walk themselves, and if they had questions, they would come back down and talk to the people down to the bottom? Would there be like a cart that people could drive, or what?
Well, it's really interesting because last year we did have some individuals that there was a small path that they were able to walk to the front top, and there was also an interpreter up there to make sure that they weren't walking on the fossils, taking the fossils, all of those kind of things. But after we regrouped at the end of the season, we went, okay, we need some trails. We can't have people, because the interpreter at the bottom, she would have to go yelling at people and running after them saying, no, you can't be walking in this area. Because also we're worried about their safety. We can't have people out and about. I mean, there's rattlesnakes. There's all kinds of things out there we need to be careful about, let alone the fossils. And so just managing the crowds when they came. So, we were talking about that thinking, oh man, wouldn't it be great to do these trails and figuring all this out. And once the COVID hit, we went, okay, once again, this has happened for a reason. Let's start working on and trying to raise the funding in order to get the trails done this year. So because they can manage, the COVID regulations, because it's such a big site. So that's worked out really well for us.
Did you get much done over the summer?
Oh my goodness. Well, they started, once again, getting the money in place, Gareth. So they started probably, this is their 3rd week now.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're going to have a natural trail and we're going to have a capped trail. So the natural trail they've started with, because with the capped trail you need equipment and all those kind of things, and they were also having challenges getting the supplies because of COVID.
Right.
So we had to put in orders and wait for the order to come in. So we thought, okay, well, let's start with the natural trails, and that's probably one of the tougher parts too, because they're digging, they're raking. You need to move the sagebrush, and especially if we've got an Indigenous business that wants to use the sagebrush, so we had a blessing up there for the first morning. All of those, there's a process that you need to follow and respectful of the culture in the region. So we got that all ready, and then the team went out there. There's 6 individuals plus Sutra, who's overseeing them, and they are digging, they're raking, they're working their heinies off, and they're about halfway through. And our goal is to get the cap trail done, the natural trail done this year, and then we're going to do the capped trail next year, because then it's going to take more equipment, and we also need to be careful of equipment and where it's going and how we're doing that. But there's going to be culverts, there's going to be bridges,
Nice.
There's going to be interpretation areas so that people can sit in benches and overlook the incredible view that's up there. So yeah, a lot of work has gone into this.
How big is the actual site, approximately?
I'm not
Like
sure.
is it, because, so again, for driving past it, if you know where it is, and even from doing the opening that was done last year, there's that sort of parking lot space, and then all you really see is the cliffs or the hoodoos or
The
whatever.
hoodoos, yeah.
Yeah. So does it go like up and
Yep, it goes
back?
up and back, absolutely. And so, working with the Bonaparte Indian Band and Skeetchison Indian Band, the territories cross over there. So it goes way back, Gareth. I don't even want to say how many acres because I could be wrong, because the area I'm working with, I'm focused on where we had the parking lot done, and that immediate area, that's where I'm focusing on. The rest, I'm leaving that with the branch and
Okay.
Thompson Rivers University.
So speaking of TRU, I'm just trying to work through. So you work with Skeetchison, you work with Bonaparte. What are some other groups and or facilities that you work with, or in partnership with this site?
We actually developed a new partnership this year, and that was Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association.
Right.
Sorry, we both looked. She's running around.
Okay,
everybody.
she's plugging in my camera here.
Okay. Jessica's got it under control. And so, yeah, so Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association actually supported us with the funding for the wages for this year for the trail workers.
Oh, nice.
Very, very nice. As did Bonaparte Indian Band. As Community Futures, we oversee all the contracts, and all the work that we do is all in kind. As Community Futures as an organization, we've never received any funding since we started in 2016. I'm really fortunate that I've got an incredible board that are visionaries. And when it first started, I met with them and said, okay, so, because it's taken up a lot of time on my desk too, and I've got a lot of priorities that I need to take care of with these other contracts that we do. And had that meeting, and our strategic planning ever since, we do that annually. They said, Deb, continue on with the Mcabee fossil beds. Like, this is a great opportunity for our region, and we just need to keep on pushing through this. And I think we're in such a great place because we are nonprofit, and we're able to tap into contracts and those kind of things and move things faster. And we're able to pull other stakeholders to the table and say, okay, this is work we're doing. Would you consider investing in this project? So I just want to see those different stakeholders more to the table, because then I think we're going to have a bigger outcome, because everybody then can pull a little bit out of their budget. I mean, to go to someone and say, okay, we need $150,000, that's a big chunk. Whereas when you're working with the different stakeholders, some can put in 20,000, some can put in 10,000, and because we want to be inclusive, everybody should be a part of this great project.
Have you gone after, or do you just automatically get any support from the local municipalities, meaning Cache Creek, Ashcroft, Savannah, or Kamloops? And or do you get any backup from, since the provincial government owns the land currently, do you get any financial support from the provincial government?
The Heritage Branch has been absolutely incredible. They are the ones that have put in the money since we first started on this project. They have funded a lot of it. Like I said at the beginning, Rural Dividend Assista, which of course is also provincial, and they provided some money in order for us to do the feasibility study. And the Heritage Branch I'm going to say they probably have put in at least 250,000. We're now working on this next contract from that at about 110,000. And Toda and Bonaparte have put in $20,000 each. And this is just for this trail project. So people need to understand also, it takes hundreds and thousands of dollars to move these projects forward. And so when we're talking about that interpretation site, we have an intern right now, a BDO intern that we're really fortunate, we're one of the pilots. And so through NDIT, we have this young man called Marshall Krause has been working with us. So now I have asked him and delegated him to now look at different programs to find funding for the Interpretation Center. So that's what he's working on right now, because it takes many hands to figure all of this out and get the funding, because once we can find some pots, then we're going to have to probably update our business feasibility study again and start the process over again. And you had asked about the local governments. At the very beginning, I did many road trips and I met with councillors in the entire region because I wanted them to know what was going on, but I also wanted their support.
What is
principle.
So, sorry, what is the size of that region?
Okay, so I went all the way down to Hope.
Okay.
Yeah, in the region. We did ask to be included with TNRD on their agenda, but they had a lot of other priorities, which is fine. So we worked, with the local regional representative, but I still also reach out to others and say, are you aware this project is going on? Because I want everybody to be aware. I don't want somebody sitting back and saying, well, what the heck, what's Community Futures doing? Here they've got this project and they didn't bring us up to date. So I'm trying to feed the information as I get it. We move forward, but as like I said earlier with projects, it can move slowly because there's a lot of work behind the scenes that is happening to get where we are to move a project.
What have been, and let's just, of course, COVID is a roadblock, but what have been some other roadblocks that you've sort of come across or that you foresee in the future for getting Mcabee going?
The funding.
Yeah.
Gareth, I can't say that enough. In any kind of community development project that I've worked on in my many, many years, it's the funding that is the stumbling.
So if you, of course, you must know the scope of the entire project. Mm-hmm. If there was a number, like if someone said, what would it cost to just do it? What ballpark, what do you think that number would be?
Just for the interpretation center. Mm. When we did the feasibility study, we were probably looking at $500,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was 3 years ago, so it's going to be higher now. So I'm thinking if we wanted to do an interpretation center, and I really would love to see the research center for Thompson Rivers University for their students and for young people in this area that think, yeah, I should check this out as maybe this is a viable career for me being a paleontologist. We're looking at $1 million. Easy.
In that interpretation center, is there room for a gift shop?
We've had some conversations about that, and if there were, it would be focused to Indigenous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't say this enough. This is an Indigenous tourism destination. This
Awesome.
is something that we all agreed on in 2016. Yeah, it's not just another fossil site. It's Indigenous tourism because I think through our conversations, we looked at those opportunities to bring visitors in to understand the culture. And I was really fortunate also, last November, I went to the National Indigenous Tourism Conference in Kelowna, and I was able to tap into a lot of resources, and I sat back and went, wow, the opportunities we have here are endless. We can do whatever we want to do. We just need to ensure that we're moving forward and we're all going in the same direction. We're all communicating. This would happen because I even had individuals that had heard about the site came and talked to me and said, I understand you're working on the site out of Cache Creek. Just want to let you know that we've also have this site, whether it be in Alberta or Saskatchewan. We started right where you are, right from the ground. If you want to come and see us, we can show you how we developed it. Like it was amazing. So everybody is so supportive of this site, and I think part of it is it's more than dropping in and having a lunch and going through the gift shop and then going back on the highway and driving out again.
And actually, that was my next question was, are there any other places like this site that you're trying to do? And if so, where are they? How did they start? Are you trying to mimic what other places have done?
Well, I don't know if I would say mimic. I think what I look for is best practices. I want to know how they set this up. Right now, like I said earlier, Community Futures has kind of been working on this, being the lead with the contracts. We eventually need to have a board of directors that are overseeing the site. And I think that that is definitely on the radar now. There's some discussion around that. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like, Gareth, with regards to the new board who would be sitting around the table making those decisions. So I guess that's why I'm pushing so hard to get a lot of these projects done that we can get done, because I'm retiring in a couple of years. And I've said to them, like, we need to push hard because I've got that opportunity now. I've got the connections. I've got the network. I can make some calls and make some things happen. So let's use that network and that skill set before I'm not in the picture anymore.
Well, I think that's all that I personally have. Is there anything else that you would like to mention, talk about? That maybe is there anything that I should be asking that I don't know to ask?
I don't think so, Gareth. I think you've covered most of it. I find that I focus on each project as it comes along because keep in mind, this is on the corner of my desk. So the projects can't be really, really big because it's just overwhelming. That's when you need a contract manager, and that's just not even a possibility right now. So, we're just kind of project by project, and I feel like if we're moving forward, that's a good thing. And then leaving that legacy for the board of directors to take over and kind of go, okay, what's the next phase now? So I'm trying to see if there's funding opportunities, maybe looking at doing another business plan, updating that, and maybe tapping on some doors and getting some funding together, because to build the site, it's going to take a long time. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen in a season. It's going to take a long time because we're going to have to go out back to the community, get their feedback again. Okay, what is your vision of the site? We really want to ensure that the region has input into the site.
Do you have a possible building end time? Like by 2025, we want to be done building everything, hitting the ground, having people come in, assuming COVID's done by then. Or 2022, 2023, as things are going, what is a feasible construction end time?
Well, interesting enough, when the case study was done in January 2017, we had a 3-year frame that we were looking at. Okay, let's go phase 1 for a small interpretation site. Well, as you know, in 2017, we had the flooding. That shut it down. 2018, well, heck, let's have some more fires. Let's, slow that down. So this year, the COVID. So part of the challenge that we have is getting that funding in place once again, and you need to have a really strong business case. And so we've been blipping along, but now it's time to get serious, and that's why I've got Marshall looking at funding sources. Like, let's get serious now. Let's update this. Let's do this. It would be nice, in my mind, to get the phase 1 done in the next 2 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate your time. And of course, if anything changes, let us know, and we'll have you back in, and we'll talk about all the updates that we have for Mcabee Fossils. So that was Deb Arnott. Thank you again for coming in, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you for your interest. I really appreciate that, because I think sometimes people forget what an incredible asset we have in our backyard. So thank you.
Cool. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon.